Hello there, my name's James and I'm one of the digital learning developers from Celt. What I'm going to do in this video tutorial is walk you through the creation of a document that you might find useful for creating your assignments here at BGU. And that's going to be a template document that you can use to create all of your written assignments that you undertake while you're studying with us here. We're going to be looking at doing this in Microsoft Word, and we're going to use some of the functionality in Word, including some of the text alignment functions. We're going to be adding page breaks and section breaks and understanding the difference between those two things. And then finally, we're going to be using some of the page numbering functions within Word. So without further ado, we'll jump straight into Microsoft Word, where I have a document waiting for me. This currently is just a blank document with a single page in it. And you'll see that as I scroll down the page, that's all we've got, that's all we're working with. So we're starting from scratch here with a blank Word document. Now the pages that I want to add into this Word document is, the first page is going to be a cover sheet, which will contain your student reference number. The second page is going to be a space for a contents page, which you may or may not need in all of your assignments. Some assignments will call for a contents page, whereas others won't require one, but we'll pop one into the template for you to use if you need to. Then we're going to add a section within the document, which will consist initially of just a single page where you can add the contents of your assignment itself. And then we're going to finish off with a final section within the document for your reference list. So let's go about creating those pages in that order. So the first page, which I already have available to me in my Word document, is the page that is going to act as my cover sheet. So as I create this, all I need to put on here is my student reference number. So I'll pop that on the page there. Now, a couple of things that I want to do with this before moving on to the next page is I just want to align it both horizontally and vertically within the page. Now, nice and easy to align it horizontally. I don't need to have it selected. I just need to have my cursor flashing within the paragraph somewhere. And at the top of the home menu here in Word, I can just click on the center align option, and that will pop my student reference number there right in the middle of the page horizontally. However, at the moment, it's sitting very much at the top of the page, which is not where I want it. I want to pop it right in the middle of the page here. So to access the vertical alignment options in Word, they're buried a little bit deeper in a different menu. I come up to the Layout tab on the menu up here. And on this left-hand side where it says Page Setup, I'm just going to expand that menu to get the additional page setup options, and that'll pop up as a new window here. And I've got three tabs within this window. I've got Margins, Paper, and the one that I'm interested in this case, and that's Layout. And you'll see here in the middle of the Layout tab, I've got a vertical alignment option, which is currently set to top. I'm going to click on this and change it to center. I'm going to click OK. And you'll see that my B number has popped nicely into the middle of my page, exactly where I want it. Now, we're going to start adding pages to this document now. And the first thing that I'm going to do before I start organizing the pages within my document is hop back over to the home page. And in the paragraph section of the menu ribbon at the top here, we've got in the very top right-hand corner of that section of the ribbon, we've got this little symbol here. And if I click on that, what you'll see, if I zoom in a little bit on the page here, is you'll see this little character has appeared after my B number. And what that's actually doing is signifying that there's a return in my document at that point. If I add more returns, you'll see more returns appear on the page. So what this little setting here is doing is it's showing us visual evidence of all of the characters that are going to be within our document that wouldn't normally be visible to us. So think about things like spaces, tabs, hard returns, soft returns, those kinds of things. All of those will be visible by some kind of symbolism on the page while we've got this toggled on. Now, it's important to realize that none of those what are called hidden characters will appear on a printed version of this document or a PDF version of this document. Indeed, they are just for your own reference while you are editing your document, and they come in very handy when you're trying to organize a document in the way that we are doing today. So I'm going to toggle that setting on, and I'm going to leave it on for the rest of the tutorial, but just be aware you can toggle it on and off at any time using that button in the paragraph section of the home menu. So next thing I want to do is I want to move on to page number 2 of my document. I'm just going to zoom out so that you can see the individual pages of my document. Now, one way that a lot of people might consider doing this is just to press that return button as many times as they need to until it creates a new page on their document. There are a couple of reasons why I wouldn't recommend doing that like that and why it's not going to work for our document today. First is that because we've got this student reference number centered both horizontally and vertically within the page, every time I add a return, it's actually going to force that reference number further up the page, which is not something I want. So it's not going to work for me. The other reason that I might not want to do this is if you think about doing this perhaps in the middle of your assignment itself. So you've got one section of your assignment and you want to start the next section. Maybe it's a report and you want to start the next section on the next page. That's all well and good. You can press return until you get to the next page and then start the new section of your assignment. However, if you then want to go back and edit, change, or modify something earlier on in the document, so maybe you add a paragraph or you remove a paragraph, that's going to cause all of those returns to move up and down accordingly within your document, and you're going to end up with the gaps being in the wrong place in your document. So perhaps they'd appear in the middle of a page rather than at the end of the page, and it can be a nightmare to sort that sort of thing out retrospectively. So instead, we're going to use some features within Word that are intended exactly for this purpose. We're going to use what are called breaks, and there are a couple of different ways that you can access these within Word, but the way I'm going to show you is via the layout menu. So we come up to the layout menu at the top here, and you'll see in the page setup section of that menu, which is on the left-hand side of the screen, up in the top right-hand corner of that section of the menu, you've got this option here for breaks. And if we expand that menu, you'll see that we've got 3 different types of page break and then 4 different types of section break. Now, in this instance, we are going to use a page break. Later on in the tutorial, we're going to start using section breaks rather than page breaks, and I'll explain to you why we're doing that as we go along. But in this case, we're just going to use a page break. So I'm going to click page break, and you'll see that does 2 things. It gives me a new page within my document below my last one. And it also, because I have the hidden characters switched on, it's showing me where I've put the page break in the document. And knowing where your page and section breaks are can become very important when you're managing particularly long documents. So that's where using those hidden characters can really come into play. Now, page number 2 of my document is what I want to make into my contents page. But I can see a couple of problems here, and they are to do with alignment. Now, obviously, the alignment that I set previously for my last page of being centered horizontally and vertically isn't going to work for me on my contents page because I want this to be aligned to the top left-hand corner. So I'm going to reset the formatting of this page to reflect that. So back in the home menu, do the easy one first, and that's the horizontal alignment. So I'm just going to click onto left align with my cursor flashing in this paragraph here. Apologies, here. And then I need to reset the vertical alignment also, which again is slightly more complicated, but still not very complicated. So we come up again to the layout menu, and we're back in the page setup section of that menu. Click to expand the dialog box here, and we change the page alignment from center to top. Now, this time there's a second setting that we need to change within this dialog box, and that's this one down here. And this menu here is determining where the changes, whereabouts in the document the changes that I'm currently making will be applied. And at the moment, they're going to be applied to the whole document, which is not what I want, because I want the student reference number on the first page to stay exactly where it is. So I'm going to change that from this point forwards. And that means that anything that I've done on the previous page is not going to be affected by this change. So we've changed it to top, vertical alignment, and from this point forward in the document. Click OK, and you'll see now that my cursor is flashing in the top left-hand corner of that second page, and the first page remains unaffected, which is exactly what we want. Now, this page is going to be for my contents, so I'm just going to add a label to this page. At the top, I'm just going to type contents. And that's just for my own reference, so I know what that page is for. And when I come to build my contents page, I'd probably delete that heading, or if I were to use it as a heading, I'd style it up using the style sheets here, which you can learn about in another one of our videos. However, at the moment, I just want this as a label for my page, and that's all I'm going to do with all of the subsequent pages in this document. So that's that page created. So I need to now move on and create the center section of my document, which initially will just consist of one page, but will grow as I use this template to create my documents. And that section is going to be the main assignment section of the template. So we're going to do a very similar step to when we added the page break to that first page, but this time we're going to use a section break. And the reason for that will become apparent once we get to the page numbering stage of this tutorial. So again, I'm going to the layout menu and up in the page setup section of the menu into the breaks section. And instead of using a page break, I'm going to use a section break. And the type of section break I want to use is just the next page section break. So I'm going to click on that. And now you'll see my cursor is flashing on yet another new page in my document. And if we scroll up, we can see that we've got a section break here at the end of our contents page, or the end of the text that's currently in our contents page. And we still have that page break. So two different things that are currently doing the same job, but it will become apparent why we're using section breaks rather than page breaks from this point on. So the new page that I've created, I'm just going to do exactly the same. I'm just going to add a label to this. I'm going to call this the assignment page. I am now going to add another section break to the end of this page. So again, in the layout menu, page setup, breaks, and another next page section break. And that creates my final page, which is going to be for my references or my bibliography. So I'm just going to add the label references to that section of the document there. So we've got all of the pages now in place, in the right place in our document. So we've got our cover sheet there, and I'm just going to make the text a little bit bigger on that one there. So let's just make that maybe 20 points. The reason I didn't set that larger when I created it initially is because I wanted to keep the smaller font size for the rest of my pages, which so it's better to do that retroactively, really. So we've got our B number, student reference number, separated from the next page with a page break, and then our contents page, which is separated from the next page using a section break. And what that means is that my contents page and my cover sheet both belong to section number 1 of the document because there are no section breaks between them. So those two pages are part of the same section. And then page 3, which is my assignment page, is a separate section from those first two pages. And then page 4, my references page, because it is separated by a section break, is also its own section within the document. And why we use section breaks rather than page breaks is that using a section break allows me to apply some of the formatting and layout settings within Word only to the pages that belong to that section. So some of those changes that you might make, like orientation of pages, for example, or size of pages, that would usually be applied to the entire document, if you've used section breaks, you can apply those settings individually to those sections of your document. So for example, it would be perfectly possible to have an A5 landscape page or section of pages within a document that contains otherwise A4 portrait pages, for example. And there might be a use case that would be useful in. But the other thing that it allows me to do is apply page numbers independently to those different sections, which is what I want, because I'm going to add my page numbers now into my document. But bear in mind, I don't want a page number on my cover page. I don't want a page number on my contents page. I do want page numbers on my assignment, and I want those to start from page 1. And then I don't want a page number on my references page. So that is why I have isolated the assignment section of my document into its own distinct section within Word. And that's why I've used section breaks to separate it out rather than page breaks. So let's go ahead and add page numbers to this document. So in order to add some page numbers, I'm going to go up to the Insert menu at the top here. And over here, more towards the right-hand side of this menu, I've got what's called the header and footer section of the document. And this allows me to add common pieces of text or objects to the headers and footers of the pages within my document, or indeed within individual sections of my document. And that includes page numbers, and we've got an option for page numbers just here. So if I click on that, I can add page numbers at, in this case, the bottom of the page, and I'm going to use this setting here, plain number 2, which is going to be essentially a page number in the center of the bottom of the page. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll notice that now I'm editing the header and footer of the page that I was working on, which was my assignment page. And you'll see that we've got a page number in there now. Now, at the moment, that page number is showing as page 3, which we don't want it to ultimately be. We want it to be page 1, but we will sort this out in a moment. The other thing that you will notice, if I scroll down, my references page also has a page number. And if we go back up to the top of the page, top of the document, we'll see that our cover sheet and our contents page also have page numbers, which is not what I want, but that's okay. I can fix this, and I can sort all of this out. And this is where using those section breaks really comes into play. So the first thing I'm going to do, which is going to be the easiest thing to sort out here, is to remove that unwanted page number from the references page. Now, in order to do this, I need to be working in the headers and footers, which I can do just by clicking into them. And I'm going to click into the footer on that references page, which is currently page 4 of the document. There are a couple of things that I need to do to get rid of that page number. The first thing that I need to do is within the header and footer menu is come up to this navigation section of the menu, and I can see that by default this link to previous option is selected. And what that's telling this section of the document to do is basically, in terms of navigation, i.e. page numbers, is to pick up where the previous section left off. So therefore, the previous section ends at page 3 currently, so this page number is automatically picking up, this section is automatically picking up the page numbering and continuing it. We don't want that to happen in the case of this document, so I'm going to unlink that option there, or unclick that option, so that footer is no longer linked to the footer of the previous section of the document, which is fine, that's what we want, but it is still, however, showing me a page number. So to take that page number off, click page number and remove page numbers. And you'll see that that page number has now disappeared from my references page. And because I unlinked it from the previous section, the page number in the previous section, which is my assignment section proper, which is where I do want a page number, that remains. Now it's still page 3 currently. We want it to be page 1 ultimately, but we'll sort that out in just a couple of moments. One thing that I will do with the page number on the assignments page, which is where I want the page numbers, is I'm just going to click into it at this stage, and I'm going to unlink it from previous, just as I did on the assignment, on the references page previously. I'm going to unlink it because I don't want it following on from pages 1 and 2, or the current pages 1 and 2 in the document, which are the cover sheet and the content sheet. So I'm going to unlink it, but this time I'm going to leave the page number there and note that it's still page 3. It hasn't changed yet. But that means that I can go ahead now and scroll up to the first section of my document. And because pages 1 and 2, the contents page and the cover sheet, are both part of the same section of the document, because they're only separated with a page break rather than a section break. So what I currently have is a 3-section document. Section 1 is the cover sheet and content sheet. Section 2 is the assignment section, and section 3 is the references section. Now, because I am editing this section now independently, because I unlinked the footers of the subsequent sections, I can just go into the header and footer of either page 1 or page 2. I can come up to the page number option in the header and footer menu, and I can remove the page numbers. And you'll see that that's removed not only the page number from page 1, but also the page number from what is currently page 2 of the document, the contents page. So I'm now left with a page number on only the page of the document where I want one, which is 95% of the way there. The only problem that I have is that this is showing as page 3 rather than page 1, which is what I want it to be labeled as. So I'm going to click again into that footer, make sure my cursor's flashing next to the page number. And in the headers and footers menu, I'm going to come up to page number over here on the left-hand side. I'm going to click that, and this time I'm going to use format page numbers. And in this menu that pops up, you will see at the bottom here, this is what's concerned with where the page numbers are concerned. At the moment, we've got this option ticked, continue from previous section. And what that's telling the section to do is pick up, again, the page numbering from the previous page in the document. Now, although pages 1 and 2 of the document aren't displaying a page number now, because we've sorted that out, they are still page 1 and 2 of the document. So if I want this section to start on any other page number than page 3, I need to change that setting from continue from previous to start at. And you'll see that by default, I get page number 1 in the box there. I can make that any page number I want. I can pop it up and down with these arrows, or I can just type any page number I want. But in this case, page number 1 is what we want. So I'm just going to leave that as page number 1, click OK, and you'll see that the page number on this page of my document, on the first page of the assignment section of my document, is now showing as page 1. So let's just click out of headers and footers now, which we can do by clicking up here, and review what we've got. So our document now is essentially complete. We've got a cover sheet. We can go ahead and toggle those hidden characters off now. We've got a cover sheet with just our student reference number. We've got a contents page, which importantly does not have a page number. We've got what's called the assignment section of the document, which is currently just 1 page, but can grow beyond that, which does have a page number, and it starts on page number 1. And then we've got the references page, which again does not have a page number. So if we come back up to the assignment section of the document, I'm going to just turn those hidden characters back on for a moment. Notice that you've got the section break here. Any text that you put in this section of the document ahead of that page, or that section break, will push the section break further down the page and onto any subsequent pages that are created. So as long as any text I input for my assignment comes within or between the start of that section, so that's page 1 now, and the section break that we put in there, it will continue to belong to that section of the document, and it will create as many pages as you need it to, and each of those pages will have a page number. So I could type 700 words into this section of my document, and that would cause me to trigger a new page to be created, and that page would become page number 2. And it wouldn't have any effect on the references page that would just stay behind that section of the document at all times. It might be handy just to put a return or 2 in there just to separate the section break from the main copy within that assignment section. And then you can just go ahead, get rid of this, start typing or paste the assignment in if you've written it elsewhere, and that will just create all of the pages that you need and whilst leaving the rest of the document untouched. A couple of tips really when working with a document like that. And one is this feature that we've been using all along: toggle on and off your hidden characters. Because often if you come a cropper with a Word document and it does something that you didn't expect it to do, you can work out what that was by turning on the hidden characters and looking at what's going on. And if something happens that you didn't expect, the other setting that's going to be your best friend, or the other button that's going to be your best friend, is the undo button, which you can find up here in the top left-hand corner. It's this little kind of looped arrow, or you can use keyboard shortcuts, Control Z if you're using a PC, or Command Z if you're working on an Apple Mac. So I'd go ahead and save this document now somewhere on my hard drive or within my OneDrive, and then I can go and I can pull it out, resave it, and use it as a template for all of my written assignments while I'm here at BG. So I hope you found that video tutorial really useful. I hope you will be able to create yourself an effective assignment template using the steps outlined. And don't forget, you can come and find the Digital Learning team in the Celt Centre. You can book appointments with us online at appointments.bishopg.ac.uk. Or you can go and have a look at our frequently asked questions course, which you will find in your course list on Blackboard. Thank you.